already has another meaning, right?
AFA Streaming offers free and subscription video content. Titles like By Design, The God Who Speaks, and Asbury Revival, Desperate for More. You'll also find video versions of AFR programs. Visit afa.net and click on Streaming. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to not the Trivia Friday. Good, reset this show. Welcome to Miserable Monday on American Family Radio.
Miserable Monday.
We hope your level will rise from miserable to mediocre sometime today on this Monday, May the 13th, 2024.
Or fair to Midland Monday.
There you go. Today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim Wildman here with Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And good morning, Fred Jackson.
Good morning. Well, it is kind of a down day for Ed today.
Yeah. Well, all's not completely lost, but it's not looking good.
No.
What are you talking about, Fred? And Ed, appreciate you bringing this up. I know.
Yeah.
It's therapeutical.
No. Fred's not doing it out of compassion.
Oh, okay.
This is
not a good night for Boston.
Okay, so the Boston Bruins, Ed's NHL team, which I was hoping to become my team, but I don't take losers when I'm adopting a new team and a new sport that I'm keeping up with. No, the Boston Bruins are down 3-1, so they're going to have to win. They're going to have to win 3 in a row, and
they're not. They're listen, I know. I approach life with my eyes wide open.
Right.
Okay.
The Bruins are not coming back.
We're playing a better team.
Right.
We had a really good game last night.
Right.
We're up 2-1.
Right.
And maybe the worst call I've ever seen in a playoff game by the refs sunk our chances. Now, I'm not one to blame. Well, that's not true. I do blame refs a lot. Okay, but it was awful.
Right.
And now we're down 3-1 rather than tying it up 2-2.
So you would blame the loss last night squarely on the refs?
Yeah, not squarely on the refs. Here's the thing. When you're playing a team that's better than you,
right,
everything has to go right for you to
That's true
win
in
the
sports.
series.
That's true.
And you cannot have bad calls like this one.
Go against you.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks to Fred to get me all wound up again. All right.
I told you it was going to be a miserable Monday.
Had a good morning.
Sometimes my wife, we're watching a game and Boston's playing, and things are going well. Are you going to text Ed? Are you going to text Ed?
Yeah.
And I said, no. I am not going to add to his misery at this point.
Because your team didn't even make the playoffs.
That's right.
That's
I have nothing to bark about.
Right.
And I will say I did text a couple of the guys here at work. One of them who's a Bobby Rosa, who's a Bruins fan.
Right.
And then Ken Green, who follows hockey as well. And I didn't text them all during the game, but after that call and the way the game went after that, I texted him and I said, how am I supposed to get to sleep tonight? After that, I'm just going to be replaying that in my mind. I was all upset.
Yeah. You were emotionally invested.
Yes.
Probably too much so.
I'm a passionate Italian.
Yeah. Well,
as if there's any other kind.
Could have been reading your Bible, but
like you were. I'm sure.
I guess you weren't. That's what I always say to people.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Right. I will file it away for you, Tim,
right.
at some point.
All right. Thank you for listening to American Family Radio. The program is Today's Issues. A lot of things happening in the news that we're going to talk about. First of all, before we get to the hard news, I don't guess you guys saw the Northern Lights.
We waited, but we did not observe.
I'm sorry, I was watching hockey.
Yeah, we were outside Saturday night watching. But then we started getting pictures from other people in the area saying, look at this.
Yeah, I don't know where they were looking. I never saw it.
I got a theory on that. Of course, we're talking northeast Mississippi where we live, which, the further north you go in the U.S. and into Canada, the northern part of the U.S. and Canada You're used to this, aren't you, Fred?
Yeah,
You've seen
we
this
used to-
before
we
many
used to see
times.
them, yeah.
Northern Lights.
Hmm.
But for we here in the Deep South, that's extremely rare. So they said that it would be apparent, or it would, what's the right word? You would be able to see.
Yeah, observe them. Yep.
And so on Friday night, I think it was Friday night, we got some pictures from some friends of ours about 10 miles north.
Hmm.
But I didn't even, nobody told me. I didn't know. I'd have gone and I'd have driven to see them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. Nobody told me, told us, my wife and I, Allison, but we got word that we got some pictures the next morning.
Mhm.
20, 30 miles, 40 miles north of us, you could see.
Yeah.
See the
Same
northern
thing.
lights.
Friends of my oldest daughter were sending pictures. Said Boonville.
Where were they?
Boonville is a community about 20, 25 miles north
Right.
of our home base here in Tupelo. And they were saying, look what we just saw. And they were taking pictures and sending them out. So we waited Saturday night at our place.
That's what I did. I
Waited.
thought, well, maybe tonight.
Yeah, waited and waited and waited. And the skies were clear. So it was
Yeah.
a good night for this kind of thing. But we saw nothing.
I even drove. We drove a few minutes from our house. Allison and I did like at 11:30 Saturday night because we wanted above a hill that was above the tree line,
Mhm.
looking out and, like a child.
Or like a couple of
We kept
high
waiting
schoolers or
and waiting.
something?
Yeah, kept waiting and waiting. Please let us have a chance. No.
No.
So not Saturday, not Sunday night. So is it gone?
Well,
I don't know.
they were supposed to be visible all the way down to the Gulf Coast, actually.
Yeah, they lied about
this was
that.
a progressive.
Wherever they are, they lied about that.
Yeah.
That didn't happen Saturday or Sunday night.
Am I a bad person?
Well,
I don't
no.
care about those kind of things.
What?
About seeing that kind of stuff. Maybe if I had seen it, I would have gone, wow.
It's spectacular.
Okay.
It really is, because I've seen it before.
Well, if you've never seen it, I mean, you didn't see it growing up in Boston?
No, I've never seen it.
Well, you had too many city lights
Yes.
probably there because they say that that interferes with seeing it. But anyway, I don't know. We'll see if it's going to happen anymore. But now you can go to, as I say, you can go to the northern part of the U.S. In the and see those in the summer, winter, or when?
Well,
or does it matter?
It varies.
Okay.
Has to be the,
the
right
most-
astronomical.
I've seen them twice. Once from Nova Scotia, I was able to see it. But the most spectacular was one night. I was doing a red-eye flight. I was on a red-eye flight from Vancouver, British Columbia, to Toronto, I think it was. So we're up at,
Yeah.
35, 40,000 feet. I just happened to be on that side of the plane that you could see it, and it was absolutely incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, see, now I want to see it.
Well, I got pictures, but I got pictures from friends, like I said, like they're 20 miles from, but I don't believe them.
You don't believe them.
I'm sorry.
These
I
are pictures,
I think they said they took these pictures.
but they got it off.
They got off the internet and then told me this is what it looked like, and you missed it. That's what I'm thinking.
There was
going on.
actually a lot of that going on.
Huh?
People fooling each other on Facebook, I know. But here's the kind of thing. On social media, I'm going, listen, if you're the lady who posts your profile picture with a filter, and even though you're 70 years old, you look 35, then why am I going to trust that the picture you're posting about the Northern Lights is what you actually saw?
I'm leaning. This is like a Bigfoot story. You know what I'm saying? These people are making this up. So, because I didn't see it Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
All right. So didn't see any sign of it.
And you're talking about someone across
and
town.
you go and you sort of wait. You wait to say, well, I'm not gonna wait here for 3 hours.
Right.
Huh? So anyway. All right. Well, hope wherever you live, you got to see the Northern Lights on the weekend.
It is, for a lot of people,
Yeah,
it's
it's
once
beautiful.
in a lifetime.
From what I've
It's
seen,
spectacular.
for those who
I
believe,
missed yet another once in a lifetime.
for those who believe in those kinds of things.
Yes,
Huh?
we're sitting on the hilltop where all the teenagers are, and looking over the lake.
It wasn't teenagers weren't there. It was the church parking lot. And
We're looking over the lake, and we're waiting to either see Nessie or the
Bigfoot.
quote unquote Northern Lights.
All right, Fred, what's your first story?
Well,
this
a lot of the
morning?
networks reporting this hour. Michael Cohen, the former lawyer
Michael?
for, yes,
Okay,
yes,
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen.
What's he doing today?
He's on the stand in the Trump hush money trial.
Uh-huh.
And interesting comments. He was Trump's lawyer for about 10 years. He testified this morning. He called Trump boss or Mr. Trump during his time working for the organization, said that he enjoyed his time working for Trump, saying that the organization was fantastic. Working for him of those 10 years was an amazing experience. Then he proceeded to say, testified Monday, that he would lie to others for former President Donald Trump because it was needed in order to accomplish the task. So Cohen is the supposed star witness for the prosecution in the Trump hush money case in New York. So far, the witnesses, according to what I have read, they for the prosecution have not gone well. Stormy Daniels, the former porn adult movie actress, that did not go well apparently last week, and Cohen is at least is not off to a good start for the prosecution today. And we're waiting to hear the questions coming from the Trump lawyers later today. If he is the star witness, as a lot of people are describing him, then this is probably getting down close to the end of the prosecution's case.
Yeah, when will this be over? Likely
in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because the defense now has to call their witnesses.
Right.
What is I've kept up with some of this. I know, but what is when you say star witness? What is Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, supposed to say or not say that is crucial to the case?
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the most legal analysts who are honest about this saying this is a bogus case to begin with. But the issue is whether the expense claimed was for legal reasons, the expense being the so-called hush money being paid to Stormy Daniels not to tell her story about the alleged affair that she had with Donald Trump many years prior to him running for president. So that's what this is about. Is it a legal expense or was it something else? Did he use campaign money to pay for this? Hush the story.
All right. Number one, and even CNN, this commentator, said, I saw this yesterday on CNN, said if his name was not Trump, this would not even be a case.
We have that
audio
talking about. Yes.
Okay.
Fareed.
Let's set that up first. So who are we about to hear from?
This is CNN reporter Fareed Zakaria. He was being interviewed. He's a legal analyst being interviewed by CNN. And he's a liberal.
He's a liberal. That's what's fascinating about what you're about to hear.
Yeah. So this is what he had to say about this case and about Michael Cohen, cut number 4.
The trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr, and even may serve to make him the object of some sympathy among people in general who believe that his prosecutors are politically motivated. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
Yeah, see, that guy's a liberal, and he even sees this for what it is. That is, this particular case is. We could talk about the other ones as they come along, but this particular case is. I frame it like this. It's like Trump was driving 53 in a 50-mile-an-hour speed zone. No cop pulls him over. Okay, to me, it's the same type situation. This should not even. In fact, Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor in Manhattan, was not even going to bring this case up.
Right.
But they decided to bring it up to try to hurt former President Trump when it's a situation that really nobody cares about. Now, the law shouldn't be determined on whether anybody cares about it or not, the prosecution or non-prosecution. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is a situation. If you believe this, okay, and Trump says he didn't have a quote affair with Stormy Daniels. All right, and then but there's this money trail supposedly of 130 grand going to her to keep her from telling her story about her one night stand, from what I understand, with Trump back in whenever it was, to try to damage his campaign chances just prior to the election in 2016. Is that right? Is that the essence of it?
Well, yes, but the trial is about whether President Trump falsified business records in order to cover up those payments.
Okay.
So,
Well,
listen, Michael Cohen, he is their, as Fred said, the prosecution's star witness, because he's really the only one, I think, who can damage President Trump and be used to prove that President Trump did falsify business records, that he asked Cohen to do that. The problem for the prosecution is that Michael Cohen has been convicted of lying. He convicted in 2018 of campaign finance violations, making false statements to Congress,
working for who?
tax evasion.
On his own or working for Trump?
Well, while I don't know if it was all connected to his time working for Trump, but he's basically convicted for lying. And on the stand, he is going to say, and has been saying, that he would, like Fred said, yeah, I lied for others on behalf of President Trump, and I did it because the situation called for it. Well, for a jury if it's fair, if they're unbiased, my first question would be, well, how do I know you're not lying now because you think the situation calls for it?
His credibility's in question.
Absolutely, and he's really the only one the prosecution can rely on to make this
What
case.
is it? Can Trump get up there and say this is all a bunch of garbage?
Well, I don't think his lawyers want him to get up there and testify.
I would.
You would?
You doggone right, I would.
I would just personally, I wouldn't, because, I mean, now Trump can do whatever he wants, whether his lawyers tell him not to or not. I don't think, if I was Trump's lawyer, I would say, please, sir, do not. We can impeach Michael Cohen's credibility all day, every day. You won't have to get up there. You know, plus there's other things.
Well, okay, Trump has said before, if you plead the Fifth Amendment, of course he's not pleading the Fifth Amendment, right?
Right.
No.
But if you don't testify, then you're not telling the truth.
Well, but you're not testifying on the basis, I think, of Fifth Amendment protections.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so much for this. We'll see what happens. But you're saying, Fred, that the burden, obviously, in this case, is on the prosecution to prove that Michael Cohen was acting for Trump.
Yes.
Right. Trump. They're going to try to prove that Trump told him, pay this woman 130 grand, however you need to do it, to make her go away.
And then cover it up in the business records.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, there's nothing wrong. Morally, there is, but there's nothing wrong legally with paying a woman to keep her mouth shut because you had sex with her, whatever, and you don't want that disclosed, so you pay a certain amount of money for an NDA, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
but
that
that's not what the trial's about.
But that happens all the time.
Yes, it does.
But okay, that's not what the trial is about.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
But if that happened, that happens all the time with wealthy men
Yep.
who don't want things to come out that make them look bad.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Next story, Fred.
There's just one other
Yeah.
very quick thing, and I was listening to an analyst just before coming in the studio. She's saying, whatever happened to lawyer-client privilege? You know, he is spilling the beans on his former client.
Yeah, but the beans aren't real.
Mm.
Huh?
Well, but there is such a thing as a lawyer is supposed to keep your mouth shut about the business
Yeah,
you
but
did for your client.
but if he's compelled by a court to do so because a crime has been committed, supposedly, you can't claim, or I guess you could claim, but I mean, I don't know, Ed. You almost went to law school. What do you
I
think?
did. I almost went. I think that Michael Cohen will probably just lose his license. He'll be disbarred. I don't think you can. I don't think a court or a district attorney can compel a lawyer to reveal discussions he had with his client, even if his client, did something
Do you
wrong.
think the honorable thing, so-called the honorable thing for Michael Cohen to do is say I can't talk about that because I was his lawyer for 10 years, and those things are confidential?
If he wanted to practice law after this, this is what I think.
Yeah.
I like you said, I'm not a lawyer, never went to law school, but I think that's what he could have said to begin with. No, I'm not going to testify against my former client because of attorney-client privilege, and you can't make me do that, or I would be disbarred. So I think Michael Cohen realizes he's never practicing law again, and so now he's going to try to get Trump convicted and then maybe become a person of interest on news talk shows or what have you. I don't think this man's ever going to practice law again.
Yeah.
Why would someone hire this guy knowing that he's just as liable to turn around and reveal attorney-client secrets with him as they did with Trump?
On the other case, wasn't he trying to save his own hide, where he got convicted of, telling falsehoods?
Yes, no, I think that's right. He's trying to save himself, but
yeah. All right, next story.
All right. Well, the other big story that's going on right now, of course, is the ongoing threat from the Biden administration that they're going to withhold weapons, ammunition from Israel because the Biden administration doesn't like the way that Israel is threatening and has begun to carry out its operation in that southern Gaza city of Rafah. The Biden administration buying into the idea that too many civilians are being killed in this, and we're not going to allow weapons and ammunition supplied to Israel by the United States to be part of that. And depending on where you stand on this issue, many people are looking at this as a sellout by the United States, by the Biden administration, to supporting our best ally in the Middle East, and that being Israel. Steve Jordahl was able to find something of a contrast between Joe Biden back in 2019 when he was a vice president, what he said about the ironclad support for Israel versus what he is saying today, threatening Israel basically to back off from dealing with the final Hamas terrorists that are holding up in Rafah. So you're going to hear Joe Biden 2019, then you're going to hear Joe Biden today. Cut number 6.
News this week to the extent that some of the Democrats are saying that if, because of Israel's settlements policy, that they would look at cutting off military aid to Israel as a result of that.
That'd be a tragic mistake. The idea that we would cut off military aid to an ally, our only true ally in the entire region, is absolutely preposterous. It's just beyond my comprehension anyone would do that. I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem. It's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
So that first quote, they were blended together. The first quote was when he was VP.
2019.
Biden commenting on, 19? Okay, he was VP, running for president, saying it would be preposterous to deny weapons to Israel as our strongest ally in the Middle East. And then he comes around now and saying, I'm not going to give them weapons if they go into Rafah.
Yep.
Isn't that what he's saying?
So that was from 2015, right? If he was still vice president.
Yeah.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yes.
Was that 15?
Yeah, he was vice president until Trump got elected.
Yeah. You have a good memory, Ed.
Well,
But just don't remember last night's game. Just wipe that out of your mind.
Thank you.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
A woman's scream suddenly startled a party of surveyors at a dinner in a forest in northern Virginia on a calm, sunny day in 1750. The men ran in the direction of the scream. One of the first to reach the scene was an 18-year-old. "Please, sir, please make them release me," the woman said as several held her. "My boy is drowning and they'll not let me go to save him." One of those holding her yelled, "It would be madness. She'll jump into the river and drown herself." Well, the young man threw off his coat, sprang to the edge of the bank, scanned for a moment the rocks and whirling currents, and then, catching a glimpse of the boy, plunged into the roaring rapids. "Thank God," the mother said. "He will save my boy." Everyone watched as the young would-be rescuer fought the rocks and the whirlpools. Twice the rescuer disappeared from sight, only to come back. He was nearing the part of the river that was most dangerous. The rush of the waters was so dangerous at that spot that no one had ever dared approach it, even in a canoe. And into the middle of it he went. Finally he grabbed the boy, lifted him above the water with his strong right arm. But at that moment those standing on the bank cried in horror. Both the youth and the child shot over the falls and vanished into the waters below. Following a deadly few seconds, the mother shouted, "There they are, see, they're safe." Soon the youth, exhausted, and the boy, senseless, reached the bank. The friends were there to meet him. "God will give you a reward," solemnly spoke the grateful woman. "He will do great things for you in return for this day's work, and the blessings of thousands other than mine shall be yours." You know, we call it courage, that thing that made the youngster do what he did. When others refused, were afraid, called it hopeless, he jumped into the water without thought of any danger he faced. One thing raced in his mind above everything else. There was another human who needed help. Courage is a wonderful thing. It's something that you don't normally get overnight. You have to work at it, make it a way of life. The carpenter had it too, you know. He was a man who inspired others with his courage. When they threatened him with bodily harm, he stood fast. When they gave him a choice between a lie or a cross, he chose the cross and truth. Oh, I nearly forgot that the woman's prediction about the young man, it proved correct. Some 39 years later, he was installed as the first president of the new country called the United States of America. His name was George Washington.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. Psalm 139, 23 through 24.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network, where we doubt Northern Lights even exist at all. We're skeptical about all these pictures, all these internet pictures that are being spread around, which, quite frankly, all look like the same picture to me. Have y'all noticed this?
Yeah, they do. A lot of similarity.
You said one of your old college buddies was having fun with this. Can you describe that?
Yeah, he was on Facebook. It became clear that as people that he knew from around the country were posting on Facebook their pictures that they took.
Yeah.
Here's what I saw, and they would always say, "This is exactly as my camera took it, no filter." And so he at some point said, "I'm getting tired of this." Like he said, they all look alike. And then the next day he posted one. He said, "Look, here's what I saw at my house. This is no filter." And someone had clearly taken like crayons and had just scribbled in the sky on a picture. And he's kind of mocking all the people who were saying, "Look, no filter. This is exactly what I saw."
Now, Fred, I know you're a scientist, in your part-time. So can you give me a layman's reason why these lights are appearing?
It has been many years that I really looked at this.
Right.
I hear a big no.
Yeah, I would hesitate to give you that explanation right now. It has something to do with the atmosphere, reflection, and all of that sort of thing.
I'm tracking with you, Fred.
All right.
That's a good
So
guess.
that's as far as I'm going to go with that.
I'll tell you exactly how this happened.
All right, Ed.
Okay.
It's angels sprinkling fairy dust, and the light reflects through it.
All right, then I'm getting a no here from both you guys in terms of.
I'm going to look it up while you're. You go ahead and say.
I'll tell you what I know about it. It has to do with the sun and the magnetic field. And
You're just throwing words out.
I just wanted to say magnetic field because
I personally, I think if I remember right from science,
Okay.
The northern lights, also called the aurora borealis, those are sparked by coronal mass ejections.
Yeah, they are.
Or explosions
that's actually a Mexican
plasma.
That's a Mexican beer. You just referenced a Mexican beer to describe.
Hey, I'll take 2 more coronal mass ejections. And these, listen, Tim, if you don't like science, that's one thing, but these explosions of plasma and magnetic material,
as you read
shooting
Wikipedia,
out of the sun,
yes,
collide with Earth's magnetic field.
Well, there you go. I said a magnetic field.
Yes.
A magnetic field shows up.
It shows up.
and then here comes the sunlight, right? Then you got some Bordalis.
Bordalis.
You put that with some guacamole.
You got a coronal mass ejection.
Oh, we're embarrassing somebody. I don't know. Maybe our family.
Let me just say on behalf of all 3 of us, ignorance is a terrible thing.
That's right.
To waste, in our opinion. In our opinion. All right, so it does have something to do with the sun and right?
Can we just
right about that?
It's an atmospheric reaction.
That's what I'm talking
Atmosphere, yeah.
Okay.
I like coronal mass ejections.
I've had those myself. I've had
coronal mass ejections.
Yes, I've had them.
Yeah.
Not fun. I'll tell you that right now. All right, Fred.
A little Pepto-Bismol will help that. Go a long way.
By the way, I don't need those commercials on TV anymore.
Oh, I know.
Those commercials that come on.
There used to be certain things you didn't talk about.
Some decorum.
Yes.
On TV, they don't have these ads now, and these ads advertising all manner of drugs.
Yes.
And they give you
just stop right there.
Yeah, they give you 10 seconds of what it might be able to help you with.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 50 seconds how to kill you. You take 3 of our pills, you're dead.
Yes, that's right.
2 of them, you got a shot at beating cancer.
But next week we'll tell you how your survivors can get really rich from your death.
Right. Anyway, all right, next up, Fred.
Wow.
Yep. Well, you want us to go back to Northern Lights, or we can move on?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to do a Jen Psaki here. Let's circle back for a second to the lead story. A lot of people saying that what's going on with former President Trump right now and all the prosecutions are only serving to help him, and I think there's evidence of that. A couple of stories that have come up from the weekend. He was in New Jersey, Trump, for a rally. Now, there are estimates of the crowd, but the minimum seems to be 80,000 people showing up at a stadium for a rally. Now, we don't know that.
It's hard to count.
Well, it's not necessary everybody there from New Jersey. They could have been from Philly, you know, that sort of thing.
Virginia.
But here's a little bit of what he had to say in that rally, cut number 11.
Whether you're a Republican, conservative, independent, or even a registered Democrat, I'm asking for your help in saving America. Our country's in trouble. It's in big trouble. Instead of a Biden tax hike, I'll give you a Trump middle class, upper class, lower class, business class, big tax cut. And the Biden economic bust will quickly be replaced with a brand new Trump economic boom. We're going to have another boom like we had all across America. Millions of people in so-called blue states are joining our movement based on love, intelligence, and a thing called common sense.
Yeah, it just seems that whatever is happening right now with Donald Trump is helping him. There's a brand new poll out from the New York Times, of all places, which shows Trump leading Biden in 5 of the 6 major states. We're talking swing states,
Yeah.
Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin having Trump up. Particularly, look at Arizona, 49 to 43 over Biden, 50 to 41 in Georgia, 51 to 38 in Nevada, 48 to 45 in Pennsylvania, 47 to 46 in Wisconsin. Biden only up a point in Michigan.
Yeah.
All of this is leading people to believe that things are going, despite what's going on with Trump and all the negative publicity around these trials and everything, as the guest on CNN the other day, and we just played that clip a few moments ago, it all is leading people to believe that there is a corrupt justice system. They are out to get Trump. It's totally unfair. And the American people, it seems, are saying, even in these swing states, are saying that we're not going to put up with this.
2 things going on here. First of all, well, 3 things I want to mention here. Number 1 is, have we talked about the Northern Lights? Because I can go back there and give you some more science if you want it. No. Secondly, what's going on here with former President Trump is that those polls you're citing from the swing states, they've been steady now for about 6 weeks. By steady, I mean they've shown the exact same thing. That is Trump winning in Trump ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Trump ahead winning will be in November, winning or losing. But Trump ahead in the swing states, which are where the election is won or lost, right? We all know pretty much who's going to go red and who's going to go blue, except for those 7 or 8 maybe swing states, maybe more, a couple more maybe. But so that's been steady. That may hold up. Regardless of what the trials, what happens to President Trump in the trials. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Trump is taking on martyr status. Okay, these trials and these cases have only served to solidify. If they'd have left him alone, I think Biden would be ahead in those polls, probably. But I don't know that. I'm just saying that it is true, like the CNN guy said. Americans don't like unfairness, generally, and they see this as political. They see this as political persecution of your political opponent, and that's just how people see this. Generally speaking, in the country, that's what I think. Number 3. But Biden is the worst presidential candidate since Jimmy Carter. And that's so when you're that's helping Trump.
Yeah.
So Trump has 3 things going for him, but at least 2 things. One is he's considered somebody who's been treating it unfairly, and Americans don't like that. Secondly, I think people do have a fond memory. Again, I'm speaking broadly and generally, the voters, of the economy under President Trump prior to COVID.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Which was a really good economy, and that's what people care about more than anything. They do care about other issues, but that's generally speaking when it comes down to voting for a president, people vote on the economy, and at least That's the number one issue. And under a subset of Biden being the worst candidate since Jimmy Carter, I would say two things that are not going to change, that drag Biden down, is the inflation rate that jumped up there and is not the cost of living. I'm talking about it, which middle Americans are experiencing.
Yep.
And secondly, the border invasion that Biden is continuing to just say, y'all come to the world. And even in Democrat cities like Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Denver, San Francisco, even Democrats there are saying, what in the world are we supposed to do with all these people? And you keep letting them come in. I don't know whether that'll translate to a vote for Republicans in November or not. That remains to be seen. But even if 10% of, let's say, African Americans who would normally vote Democrat in these places vote for a Republican or vote for Republicans, or maybe in these swing states, maybe Colorado, for example, which has been trending blue, been purple, but been trending blue. Maybe these illegal immigrants have invaded Denver, and that's in the news every day, and the Democrats and Biden are seen as responsible for that. Maybe people won't speak out, but they'll go to the polls and they'll vote red when they would have otherwise voted blue.
Yep.
That makes sense.
It does, and the problem for the Biden reelection campaign is that once, and we've said this on the show before, once things begin to solidify in the minds of voters, it's next to impossible to change people's minds.
Yeah, that's what I mean by yes. But what I was saying was this is becoming settled.
Yes, and it doesn't matter if President Biden says it's Trump's fault or it's the Republicans' fault on the border. The time to make that case was like a year ago, but the facts on the ground for most people, like what we played last week with Biden in that interview, saying yes, it is very painful, but it's corporate greed, he said. Okay, nobody's buying that.
Right, I know.
And I'm not saying there isn't some.
Right.
I'm saying people are blaming his policies, Biden's policies, for the fact that that they're having a hard time feeding their families and putting gas in the car. I read an article just this morning, early this morning, about California, and I don't think Biden's in any danger of losing California, but the policies put into place by this left-wing governor, Gavin Newsom, and the legislature, get this, starting next year, an additional 50 cents per gallon tax for climate change purposes on a gallon of gas starting next year and every year going forward, an additional 50 cents tax.
Where is this?
California, which is a crazy state, okay? When people start seeing that, 50 cents now, and it goes that 2 years later, it's up an entire $1 because they're trying to drive down the amount of gas that's used, okay, so that they can force everyone to transition to electric cars. But at some point, people are going to be they don't care what your explanation
That's not
is.
sustainable.
Yeah,
It's
the policies that people are assigning blame to. And for the Biden administration, it's his policies.
Americans are in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And they're in a bad mood, and primarily about the economy, the invasion of our southern border.
Right.
And Joe Biden's out there talking about climate change.
Yeah.
That's not resonating with
Look,
anybody.
Big crime in big cities, homelessness, needles, drug needles, used needles on the human, excrement, on the sidewalks, people robbing CVS and Walgreens stores blind. This stuff is all piling up.
Well, and then you got the pro-Hamas demonstrations on our university campuses. We've been talking about this for years, what's going on university campuses.
Right.
Now people have seen it.
Yes.
And they're saying, what in the world has happened on our university campuses?
These nutcases stopping people from going to airports,
Yes.
going to work,
Yeah.
blocking the roads,
Mm-hmm.
throwing, paint on paintings. All this stuff tends to add up. And like you say, it's an excellent comparison to Jimmy Carter. I think Biden's in a worse place than Jimmy
Yes.
Carter.
And you add all what we just talked about, which is dragging Biden down in the polls. Add to that his mental decline.
Mm-hmm.
Fair point. Yep.
Everybody's seeing. I don't know how many people that sways their vote one way or another, but it doesn't help.
No,
Probably not much if it was by itself.
Yeah.
But when you add that
Yeah.
to this pile of junk,
Yeah.
Then most of that's domestic. But people are also concerned about what's going on in China.
yeah,
China's building its world empire out there. There's the news this morning. Iran, they've got nuclear weapons.
that's the claim.
You've got Russia invading Ukraine. So there's not only domestic concerns but global concerns. What is going on in the world? And we've got perhaps the weakest president in the history of this country that's out there. And then you add to it Nancy Pelosi in Oxford in a debate back about 2 weeks ago, basically mocking, like Hillary Clinton, mocking the people who support Donald Trump.
And I think Steve's going to have that sound with us, or do you have it?
We have it right here. This is
What are we about to hear now?
This is Nancy Pelosi basically saying, we've got these Americans, and they've got these silly concerns.
Where was this debate?
This was at Oxford.
In England?
In England,
Okay.
yes. And what you're going to hear is some of a Winston Marshall who is countering what Nancy Pelosi, but Nancy Pelosi basically mocking people who are.
Don't give it away.
Yes.
Let folks hear it.
All right, we'll
'Cause
just
it's-
play it raw, and
This
then
is
we'll come
what
back.
they think about
Yes,
conservatives and people of faith.
they being Democrats like Nancy
Right.
Pelosi. Cut number 9.
January 6th has been mentioned. A dark day for America indeed. And I'm sure Congresswoman Pelosi will agree that the entire month of June 2020, when the federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon was under siege and under insurrection by radical progressives, those too were dark days for America.
There is no equivalence of it. So that, yes.
So you don't agree? And it's fine, you don't agree, that's fine.
But it is not like what happened on January 6th, which was an insurrection incited by the President of the United States. In the eyes of these poor souls who are looking for some answers. We've given them to them, but they're blocked by some of their views on guns. They have the 3 Gs, guns, gays, God, that would be a woman's right to choose. And the cultural issues cloud some of their reception of an argument that really is in their interest.
So she just called people stupid.
Yes.
Who disagree with transitioning kids in grammar school or junior high to a quote unquote new gender.
Yes.
And who don't want babies slaughtered in their mother's wombs. She says those people are too stupid to know what's good for them.
Yeah.
And they're blinded by those issues, and they cannot accept the Democrats' policies that are good for them.
Yeah, like abortion. So these people have a wrong view of God.
It's like Hillary Clinton's
Yes.
basket of deplorables.
Basket of deplorables. They need to be sent off for retraining. This is
Yes.
scary stuff, folks. It really is. The attitude that we hear of the Nancy Pelosi's. We know, basically she's saying the Democrat Party, and which I'm a part of, we know what's best for you.
You're a part of? Fred?
Nancy Pelosi's part of
you're quoting her?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make clear.
Yes.
Somebody may have just turned on the radio and thought, what's happened to Fred?
Yeah.
'Cause-
No,
yeah.
but the arrogance that is it comes at us through climate change. We know what's best for you.
Yeah.
You got to stop driving those cars that use gasoline.
Right.
And you got to start driving electric cars. We know what's best for you. And by the way, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we'll force you to do it.
Right.
This is where, and the American people are saying, wait a minute, this is the United States of America.
Right.
We're not going to put up with this nonsense. But they're too blind, they're too arrogant to see it. Like Joe Biden is going back out, I think, to Los Angeles, and he's going to have a fundraiser. So he's going to have George Clooney and a few other Hollywood elites.
Right.
You know what? They're all in on this, and it's like $250,000 a plate. All right?
I'm out.
You know, but this is where the leadership of the Democratic Party is right now. They're all in on this. And the American people are saying, I'm paying 25% more for groceries.
Right.
This is where I live, Joe
Right.
Biden. You don't live here. And I'm tired of what you're doing. So you add all of these things like we've been talking about. You add what's going on in the Middle East. You add what they're seeing a government that's turning against Israel, our major ally.
Yeah.
They're fed up with it. The invasion of the southern border, millions of people coming into this country.
Right.
And as Tim, you were pointing out a few moments ago, it is the Democrat cities that are rebelling.
Yeah.
It is blacks in the Democrat cities that are saying, you're shutting down schools here, and you're saying we don't have enough money to open up schools in the south side of Chicago, but the illegals come along and you open up the schools again.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, I know that, every election people say, well, this is the most important election in our lifetime. I'm talking about presidential election. And I would include congressional and senatorial too this time, and I don't know if that's true or not, because I don't know. But I do know this, that if Biden is not rejected, then we've seen what he's been doing with this far left agenda the last 3 years. And then he will just basically, these Biden is two different situations as far as his presidency. One is he knows what's going on, and the other one is he doesn't know what's going on. He does know what's going on, probably in a day-to-day briefing, meeting, whatever like that. But what Biden doesn't know, but he's still responsible for, and this is my opinion, is how these underlinks that, when somebody doesn't really know what's going on, for whatever reason, they have cognitive decline or whatever, and people take advantage of them.
Yeah.
You've all heard elderly abuse?
Right.
And I'm not laughing about this. I think Biden is very subject to elderly abuse. Not that he isn't ultimately responsible for decisions, because he's the one running for president, but I don't think he has any idea, or maybe he doesn't care, what all these, the people under him, they're the same ideology as these people who are protesting in the streets.
Right.
The pro-Palestinian, BLM, Antifa. These are the. They may dress up better and talk better. I don't know, but these are not normal Democrats from years gone by. The people that are becoming infested in his Biden administration and the underlinks are far left American hating wackos. A lot of them. Is that?
No, it's absolutely. I believe that the Trump administration, you're talking about all the underlings, that the Biden administration has become infested with Marxists, with LGBTQ activists and radicals, and radical Muslim sympathizers.
Right. Yes.
And what's he going to do? What's Joe Biden going to do?
Because he doesn't know. He's doing good to get up day to day and
right.
say some complete sentences.
Yeah.
So whoever is his chief of staff, and I don't know. I don't even know who that is now. Do y'all know? Could you name his chief of staff? His chief of staff is running, and whoever, maybe 2 or 3 others, they're basically running the show.
I think it's Jeff. Is it still Jeff Zients?
I don't know. I couldn't.
Used to be Ron Klain. I think that's. I think
changed his name.
Huh?
Changed his name?
No, different guy.
He used to be, huh?
No, the chief of staff.
Oh,
Used to
okay.
be Ron Klain.
Okay, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
There's a lot happening around us. That's why Christians need to stand strong on family values and morality. Hi, I'm Ray Rooney, editor of The Stand, a blog from the American Family Association. The Stand has timely, carefully written articles on relevant cultural issues that you can quickly forward to others. Visit afa.net/The Stand.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Former President Donald Trump's ex-attorney Michael Cohen takes the stand in Trump's criminal trial in New York, where Trump is facing 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Eric Shawn reports by the Manhattan Supreme Court in New York City.
He said that he basically dealt with a lot of issues, renegotiated bills. For example, if a law firm or some vendors would send bills and the former president thought that they were too high, Michael Cohen would then, in his words, renegotiate them down. That basically was Cohen's in-house role, which was to renegotiate, challenge invoices, challenges bills from vendors and construction sites and this sort of thing. They have not gotten to the heart of this case, the allegations of the 34 counts of business fraud against him. Cohen, of course, expected to testify that he reimbursed Stormy Daniels $130,000 from his home equity line of credit.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha says even in liberal New York, if the prosecution is relying on the testimony of Cohen, Trump should be acquitted.
If they're depending on Cohen, who already has gone to jail, who has already admitted to lying countless times in terms of when he's on the witness stand, we're looking at either a hung jury or even an acquittal, even in Manhattan, which voted basically 9 out of 10 people voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump in 2020. So this is where we're at this point. And when you consider Fonnie Willis, Jack Smith, those trials are probably happening after Election Day. This lawfare attempt to take out Donald Trump looks to be over.
Voting is underway in Alabama in efforts to unionize a Mercedes-Benz plant. Jeff Manasso reports.
The UAW says over 5,000 workers at Mercedes plant in Vance, Alabama, are voting in a secret ballot on whether to unionize the plant in a nearby battery factory. Mercedes has urged workers to vote no. Final results are due Friday. If successful, Mercedes would become the second automaker in the southern U.S. to see its workers join the UAW ranks after workers voted to unionize at a Volkswagen factory in Tennessee in the UAW's attempt to gain momentum in the traditionally anti-union American South. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
COVID vaccine manufacturer AstraZeneca is pulling all of its stock off the shelves, saying the demand for the product is gone. But Steve Jordahl reports it probably has more to do with a recent admission that its product can cause deadly blood clots.
AstraZeneca's COVID vaccine was never available in the U.S., but was widely distributed in Europe and the rest of the world. It's facing a class action lawsuit in Great Britain that claims it's responsible for injuries and death because it can cause blood clots in some patients. AstraZeneca was forced to admit as much in court after internal documents were presented as evidence. Last week, the drug maker announced it was shelving its stock worldwide because of low demand. But Dr. Peter McCullough of the McCullough Foundation says that's patently false.
The arrangements for the vaccine companies were not based on market demand. The arrangements were all pre-purchased contracts of vaccine.
Dr. McCullough says the AZ vaccine produces large amounts of what's called a spike protein, which in certain patients causes massive blood clots, sometimes leading to death. It's the same mechanism used by other vaccine manufacturers with the same potential results.
Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Janssen, they're equally dangerous. They produce the lethal spike protein that was devised and engineered in the Chinese biosecurity lab. That's in each person who took these shots.
At least 2 mainstream American news outlets, the New York Times and CNN, reported on the global withdrawal of the AstraZeneca vaccine and did not mention the clotting problem at all.
Some money flowed to the media to essentially have the media become an advertising agency for the vaccine program.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
On Wall Street today, U.S. stocks are drifting around the edge of their record heights. The S&P 500 up 0.1%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 41 points, and the NASDAQ Composite is 0.3% higher. More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Good evening, everyone. Coming up tonight in news, the well-known AFR app has been the talk of the town.
That's right, Tammy. You can listen to live radio and music all in just one app. Sounds like I need to get this myself.
My thoughts exactly. They say it's available for iPhone and Android users, Amazon Alexa, Roku, and the Amazon App Store. Tune in tonight at 9 for more.
The AFR app. Download it today. Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
I don't do that. Welcome back. I say welcome back, people, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. We got 24 and a half more minutes of this program. We thank you for listening. And if people want to watch us on the internet or listen on the internet, what shall they do?
Well, it's too late now. We've had an hour of the show here. You missed some. All right, I'll tell you anyway, folks.
Yeah, well, they can catch the last 25 minutes.
Yeah, there are several ways that you can watch the live video stream of this program. Most of our talk show programs on American Family Radio have live video streams. That is, while the program is airing live. You can go to Facebook and search for Today's Issues. You can go to YouTube and search for Today's Issues Live. You can go to our own streaming platform, stream.afa.net. You can go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and search for American Family Radio and watch the live video stream there.
What about the podcast, Ed?
Podcasts you can access by going to afr.net, afr.net. And if you look at the banners across the top, there is one drop-down menu that says podcast. You can find the show that you would like to listen
search
to.
For it.
You can.
For our banner, Today's Issues.
Today's Issues, we're way down at the bottom because we're humble. We don't care,
right.
you know.
Right.
And
you have to scroll down a little bit.
you do have to scroll down to find the show you want to listen to. And then you click and you can find the podcast that you'd like to access.
Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Hey.
Now, good morning, Brother Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
Have a good weekend?
Yeah, I did. I've been fighting this head cold. It's kind of still hanging around, but yeah, it's
don't
good.
fight it.
No, don't
Don't
if you
fight
can't
it.
fight it, join it. Well, I've joined it.
Yep, and you're sitting 6 feet from me, 3 feet from
No,
me.
it's not contagious. I think it's allergies.
Yeah.
Not contagious, but I'm not going to drink after you. Let's put it that way.
You don't sound
You do
like
that if you do that if I was healthy?
No, that's a good
you don't
point.
sound like you're
No, it's not affected. It's just in my ear. It's
Okay.
It's just weird. I feel like I'm deaf. But
okay.
anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know where your ear stops up.
Yeah,
again.
yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay.
Well, that's a nice shirt.
Thank
Steve.
you.
What do you got? What's your first story?
All right, I got a DEI story that is just gonna. I mean, this is priceless.
DEI meaning what for those?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Uh-huh.
It's wokeness. Thomas Jefferson University had a nurse in Philadelphia, has a nursing school, and they had a graduation. Well, they can't just get the dean of students to read the names as the people march across the stage, so they got to get somebody from the DEI pool, apparently, because this person had absolutely zero handle on the English language.
Oh,
could not write or read or speak English at all, I'm convinced. So they gave her phonetic listings of how the names are supposed to sound. They, spelled out phonetically. This is how it ended up. You're gonna hear a name, and then I'm gonna tell you what the name was supposed to be.
Okay. Now, where was this? What
This
school?
was at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. By the way, one of the names that isn't quite said right, Thomas.
Oh man! All right, so we're about to hear where DEI takes you.
This is where DEI can take you. Are we? Okay, cut 13.
Maybe Lee Zubeth Bratowski.
Maeve Elizabeth Bratowski.
Sayer Uvun Jinju Brinon.
Sarah Virginia Brennan. Wow.
Marcelin Brabazan Carr.
Marissa Barbazan Carr.
Tamome
Thomas Michael Canaveri.
Reginu Iagri.
Megan Aubrey.
Oh, my goodness.
Jessica Lynn Bower.
Jessica Lynn Bauer. Jessica.
Efuni Batista Santos.
Stephanie Batista Santos. And finally,
Alisuna Cole Bishop.
Allison Nicole Bishop.
So that whole thing was a disaster.
It was. And the university had to issue an apology. They tweeted out an apology.
What'd they say in their apology?
The leadership and faculty of Thomas Jefferson University extends our sincerest apologies for the mispronunciations of the names of several of our graduating nursing students during our recent commencement ceremony. The ceremony is a celebration of the significant achievement of our students, and each graduate deserves to have their name honored correctly on this pivotal day. We also recognize that commencement is not only a milestone for our students, but also a deeply important day for their families and loved ones who have supported them throughout their educational journey, and we are deeply sorry for any disappointment this may have caused. The mispronunciations occurred due to the way phonetic spellings were presented to the speaker's cards, which was noted when the presenter apologized during the ceremony.
Well, it's an excellent story and explains a lot about our country there, Stuve. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I hope that lady isn't going to be a nurse in one of our hospitals.
Oh, my goodness.
Penicillin.
So what's wrong with me? Okay, I didn't understand a word you just said, ma'am.
You're going to have a Hayat talk. Okay.
All right. What else you got?
All right. Hey, guess what? Global warming is a hoax. Apparently, we have proof. I want you to listen to an Australian geologist who's speaking at the conservative gathering CPAC in June. And this is what he said. Aussie geologist, and he's a professor emeritus at the University of Melbourne. His name is Ian Plimmer. Tim sent this around, and I thought it was quite convincing. Let's listen to cut 14.
I don't have opinions. I have demonstrable facts. These facts are validated and these facts are repeatable. Fact number one, no one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. Never been shown. And if it could be shown, then you would have to show that the 97% of emissions, which are natural, do not drive global warming. Game over. We are dealing with a fraud. It's a scientific fraud from day one. We hear the propaganda that increases of the gas of life, a trace gas in the atmosphere, will bring a disaster and that we will have runaway global warming. Sorry, folks, we've known for 200 years from chemistry that it's the exact inverse. Now, I'm sure some of you tried this last night at the dinner with a champagne or a beer and you forgot to drink it and it warmed up and it kept bubbling and bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. And that is the inverse solubility of carbon dioxide. We've known that for 200 years. We see it from the ice cores. When we drill into ice, we have chemical fingerprints that tell us what the temperature was, and we have little bits of trapped air. And we can show that when we had natural warming, some 650 to 6,000 years later, we had an increase in carbon dioxide. It's not carbon dioxide that drives temperature, it's the exact inverse. Another fraud.
What was this guy's name?
Ian Plimmer, P-L-I-M-E-R.
I just like listening to
him. He's a scientist. That accent sounds almost Australian.
It is.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about what he was saying, or well, what I appreciate about what he was saying was, if you're going to say the 3% of man-made carbon emissions are responsible for global warming, what do we do with the 97% of natural emissions?
Right.
That have been around forever.
Yes.
So
how do you counteract that?
Yeah. Listen, my opinion, okay, and I've expressed this many times. Man-made global warming is not true.
Maybe Mr. Plimmer got that from you.
I do have great influence in the scientific community. I don't.
In
talk,
Australia
You don't like to brag about it.
I don't talk about it much because it sounds like I'm bragging on myself. But a lot of these guys do listen to this show. So man-made global warming is not true. Now, whether there's global warming or not, maybe some places, maybe not. A lot of it's overstated. A lot of it's just fabricated, not true. Here's the reason for that. These people that promote this are globalists. They want to tear down capitalism and America's sovereignty. Sovereignty? Did I get that word right?
Yes.
So how do you change people's behavior? How do you make them give up freedom and liberty? Well, you scare the mess out of them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you scare the mess out of them? You tell them the planet's going to burn up if you keep driving your SUV. Okay?
Right.
So that's how you do it. And so what does that lead to? That leads to some kind of centralized control of something so big as the energy sector of America. That's why these same people are going after coal. They're going after oil and gas. You know what I'm saying? They remember was it Biden that shut down the pipeline there?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In the name
Keystone?
Keystone in the name of global warming, preventing global climate change, global warming. Also, they did a very shrewd thing. We've mentioned this many times too in their messaging. They changed from global warming, which we remember from Al Gore days. They used global warming as a threat for 20 years. Then they said, you know what? We're not getting anywhere with this. We're having our global warming conference, and it keeps snowing.
Right.
During our global warming conference, and we just can't catch a break. What do?
Pro tip. Don't have your
right.
in Switzerland in the winter.
Right. You need to go Phoenix in July for your global warming conference. But what I'm saying is they kept saying, and they do this, they'll say, if you talk to these people right now, these global warming activists, they're going to say 10 years from now, the world's going to be on fire. Okay, mark my word, mark this date. In May of 2034, these same people are going to be saying, if we don't do something in 10 years, such and such is going to happen. Calamitous, bad, horrible. Okay, they keep pushing the date out. Well, you say, we should have reached the point of no return
a decade or two ago.
Yeah. Well, if you went by what Al Gore said,
right,
we should have reached. They should be saying, well, you know what, world, do what you want to, because the die's already cast. We're all going to die of global warming in the next 50 years.
Right.
There's nothing we could do to change it. If they want to be consistent with what they were saying 20 years ago, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not true. Man-made global warming is just a ploy to promote, to scare people to death, and scare people into modifying their, giving up American sovereignty in the name of saving the planet. Notice the emphasis on the U.S. Like we're the only we're the only country in the world. Why is it all on us to solve global warming? Now I know Europe's doing their Greta Thunberg routine over there. You know, they're pretty woke over there. But what about China? What about India? They're the two leading polluters in the world. They don't care about global warming that I can tell. So why don't you put your emphasis over there? Why is it always the U.S.? You know, that's the culprit. Why? Because they want to control our economy. That's my take on this whole thing. It's very conspiratorial.
Well, I don't think it's frankly, I don't think it's conspiratorial at all.
Kind of out in the open.
I think it's exactly what's happening. We've all seen these videos when an expert who believes in climate change is asked a question like this. Okay, let's say we get rid of all internal combustion engines and automobiles in America by 2035. It's all electric vehicles. How much will that decrease the temperature? Okay. They can never answer it. They can never answer what X action will result in terms of why here's the consequence. Because this is not an exact science, even as they present it. And I think you're exactly right. I think these people actually believe it. They actually believe that the climate is shifting and carbon dioxide is the reason in terms of what man contributes to the worldwide carbon dioxide output. I think they actually believe it. But what they also believe is most of us are too stupid to understand what's happening, and we need to be told what to do in order to save the planet. And I'm sorry, but most people, at least in this country, don't believe them.
I see a theme going on here between him and Pelosi, or you.
Yes.
Pelosi saying.
Yeah. We played that.
Yeah.
We're stupid.
Yeah.
We need the experts to tell us what to do.
Let's listen to that gentleman again one time. And what's his name again? I think it's worthwhile playing
Ian
again.
Plimmer?
Ian.
And what's his credentials?
Plimmer. He is a geologist and professor emeritus at the University of Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
I don't have opinions. I have demonstrable facts. These facts are validated and these facts are repeatable. Fact number one, no one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. Never been shown. And if it could be shown, then you would have to show that the 97% of emissions, which are natural, do not drive global warming. Game over. We are dealing with a fraud. It's a scientific fraud from day one. We hear the propaganda that increases of the gas of life, a trace gas in the atmosphere, will bring a disaster and that we will have runaway global warming. Sorry, folks, we've known for 200 years from chemistry that it's the exact inverse. Now, I'm sure some of you tried this last night at the dinner with a champagne or a beer and you forgot to drink it and it warmed up and it kept bubbling and bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. And that is the inverse solubility of carbon dioxide. We've known that for 200 years. We see it from the ice cores. When we drill into ice, we have chemical fingerprints that tell us what the temperature was, and we have little bits of trapped air. And we can show that when we had natural warming, some 650 to 6,000 years later, we had an increase in carbon dioxide. It's not carbon dioxide that drives temperature. It's the exact inverse. Another fraud.
Yeah, well, I'll vote for him, but he's not running. But anyway, all right, next story, Steve.
All right. Panama has a new president.
Panama?
Panama.
Panama City?
Well, that would be the capital of probably where the president.
Talking about Central America,
Central America.
not Florida.
Not Florida.
Okay.
No, the country of Panama.
Gotcha.
In Central America, where there's a canal,
Mm-hmm.
has a new president. His name is Jose Raul Mulino.
Mm-hmm.
He was a surprise winner. He wasn't supposed to win, but he did.
He shocked the world.
He did. And what he says he's going to do now is shut down what is called the Darien Gap. It's in the southern part of Panama, kind of about 3/4 of the way down, and it is the most traveled route for immigrants that want to come to the United States. About 500,000, 500,000 people.
On foot?
On foot. Well, They used to be on foot. They used to take 2 or 3 weeks to get through, but they've set up a system now. Only takes a couple days. You're
talking about in Mexico, the cartels and the people,
Mexican and other cartels down
Coyotes
south.
and all them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's called the Darien Gap, and he is going to shut it down because he says the Darien Gap is not a transit route, it's our border. So he has taken care of his border. Not only is he taking care of his border, he's taking care of ours better than our president is.
Well, this is pretty significant. He's the new president of Panama, and he's saying he's going to shut down where hundreds of thousands of people come, I guess, annually, or maybe a million. Who knows?
500,000 last year.
On foot. Where are they coming from?
Well, as
Peru or
I guess
Venezuela or where? They're coming up.
Venezuela. We've had a lot from Venezuela. I guess Ecuador. Now, some of them that where we're getting illegals from are north of Panama. So Honduras,
There's
Guatemala.
nobody left in Honduras. They emptied out.
That's what it seems. It seems like. So I'm not sure where else they might be coming from. Venezuela, I think. Maybe some Colombians.
Well, we know
Ecuador.
that people are coming from around the world. Okay,
Right.
and they're ending up in our country because we've all heard those stories, and the Chinese nationals, the people from Africa. I've seen some of them will just straight up do an interview with you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here from Libya.
I think most of those fly into Mexico somewhere and then come up. But this is that long trek that you have to go through Panama.
Well, good
There's
for this
nowhere
guy.
to go around it unless you go by boat.
Good for the new president of Panama.
And thank you. Doing what our president won't.
Next story.
All right. Some good news. Good news. This happened in Louisiana, Abbeville, Louisiana. It's a Catholic church. It was holding a service. It was having First Communion for a whole bunch of kids. And a teenager dressed in black with a loaded long gun shows up at the back door, coming in, no doubt intending to do some harm. Parishioners stop him from coming in, call the police, and arrest him. So the people that were there with likely wanting to save their children, probably parents of the children having their First Communion, save the day. And so this guy has been arrested. There was chaos and panic. I saw the video. What you would see is you saw, first of all, some man walk up, kneel in front of the cross like they do in the Catholic Church, and then come and whisper something in the priest's ear, who immediately says, all right, everybody, sit down. We're going to say a Hail Mary. And they said Hail Mary. Then it cuts to some commotion you can hear in the back. You can't see. The priests are ducking behind the altar. The altar boys are running, scattering. And you hear a lot of very concerned people. Well, the priest finally gets up, gets word. The police come in. They've caught the guy. They're going to be checking everybody in here to make sure that nobody in here has any guns. So be very calmly and quietly and slowly make your way out and just show yourself to the police on the way out. But good news.
Where was this?
This was in Abbeville, Louisiana. I don't know where Abbeville is.
Wow, that's scary. This is the second time in a couple of weeks that there was an attempt. Now, this is an alleged attempt.
He never got as far as shooting.
Right. But
we don't know
last
yet about
week, remember, there was a guy who actually pointed a gun. Well, that was in an evangelical church or something?
It was a black church.
But, I mean, it was not a Catholic church.
No, it was a Christian church.
Okay, so
Or a Protestant church.
aimed a gun at the pastor, and it jammed.
Yeah.
So that's the second time in a couple of weeks
Pretty good, huh?
that we've had something like this. The world's filling up with crazies, folks.
All right, we're out of time.
For today.
Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Ed.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Fred Jackson and Brent Creeley, our producer. We had no guest on today, so we don't have anybody to thank.
Make sure you look for the Northern Lights tonight, folks.
Is it Northern Lights?
You're looking south?
looking
That's the problem.
Oh.
There are Southern Pole lights. I don't know.
Are there really?
Called. Yeah, there's not the Aurora
I was looking
Borealis.
for
the
them.
Aurora
I've been
something
looking
else.
for them the last 2 nights. Southern Lights.
That'd have to be a pretty piece for it to get this far north.
Maybe I need to turn around. But I've been told that my whole life.
father